In this short video, I'll give you some tips on how to sharpen your garden clippers, blades, and pruners. You'll need a few things before we get started. Obviously, your garden blades, a rough file, I have a diamond file here, a medium or fine file, a wrench to remove the blade retaining nut, some penetrating protective oil, and a rag. Just about all garden bladed tools use the same design concept of blade on blade held by a retaining nut. This set of garden shears has a half-inch lock nut and spring. I'll use a wrench to quickly disassemble the clippers so I can more easily sharpen each blade individually. After I disassemble the blades and remove the lock nut, I'll go ahead and take a peek at them. If they need rust removal, we'll have to do a separate rust removal process. But in this case, as a first step, I'll apply some penetrating oil to give the sharpening tool a lubricated surface and provide some protection for the steel blade post-sharpening. I'll go ahead and wipe the oil off, make sure there's no excess on there. And then next, eye the bevel on the blade. It's essentially the tooled angle and typically the one you will use as a sharpening reference. Most blades over time will have a second bevel on the tip of the cutting edge that may be at a slightly higher angle. The main bevel should be roughly 35 degrees for most gardening tools. Next, grab your rough file and run it at the beveled angle to create a clean cutting edge and remove any large burrs or nicks. You'll start to see it get shiny as you run the file a few times. Flip the blade over and run it lightly flat over the back side. Note, we're not sharpening the back of the blade, just removing any burrs. Continue to sharpen the blade, running a lightly pressured file over the tip. You'll see the burrs and nicks disappear. Then you can grab your fine sharpening tool and run it at the beveled angle or slightly higher. Clean burrs off the back, and you'll start to get a nice sharp edge. As you sharpen the blade, you may want to apply a little bit more of the honing oil or machine oil onto the blade to make a smooth ride for your file. I'll finish up here with the first blade. It's sharp enough and I've given it a nice edge at the beveled angle, maybe a little bit more. I've cleaned the burrs off the back of the blade. I'll go ahead and set down the top blade and grab the bottom blade and do the same thing. Now with this set of clippers you can see that the blades are flipped, so make sure you're sharpening the right cutting edge. We'll go ahead and go through the same process, remove those burrs, get it nice and clean, oil it up, and then we'll put a fine edge onto it with our fine cutting sharpener. After I've removed the burrs, run a few times with both files, I get the edge that I want. We'll clean it up, make sure everything's good to go, and then our next step is to reassemble the cutting tool. During reassembly, just make sure that you remember how to put things together and that you tighten down the nut. With this particular tool, it's a spring-loaded lock nut, so when I put the spring on first and put the nut on, it'll actually hold the blades with tension from the spring. You may have a different setup, you may have to assemble it differently. Just make sure you put it back together the right way or you'll have some surprises. I'll go ahead and lock this up, tighten the nut a few turns, and then I can test it out. And after this video I went over and the blades were quite sharp. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for future video releases. Thanks.